Hello guys, welcome back to Chaos TV's live coverage of EUS Challenger Series number 16. I'm joined by Pulse, and we are live into the picks and bans for the first out of 3 games between Inferno eSports and Heavy Botlane. How's it going, Pulse?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you, Metas, and we will, well, at least I will be slightly behind as I am spectating over the stream, and then when we get in game, we'll have the usual thing where I will be on the same page as the rest of you guys. So, ban champions will be Annie, Kasten, Rengar, Elise, and Renekton. Annie, pretty much all of those bans, Metas, are very, very sort of standard. I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary. Maybe Rengar, but I know Rengar had some bugs with him in the last patch. I'm not sure if that's a result of that, or it's a targeted ban, because I know there are some players, such as Mima, who are incredibly good with Rengar, and it's something they might want to ban out. But compared to a lot of top laners, I honestly don't think Rengar is top tier.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I mean, sorry, apologies, I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, so my voice is going a bit crazy, but yeah, a couple of weeks ago, in fact a month ago, Rengar was seen quite a lot from the jungle and also top lane. Does a lot of burst damage, especially at level 6, can just pop AD carries, but it certainly hasn't been seen as often, so that is a bit of a head scratcher as a ban. That being said though, it could be targeted against somebody on the side of Heavy bot lane. I've got to be honest though, Pulse, the only player that I've really casted before from Heavy bot lane is Nardius. Used to be in Reason Gaming and Asuba, of course, so a bit of an unknown factor going into this. Apparently, in the qualification round, they stormed through pretty comfortably, so definitely one to watch.
Yes, indeed, and Dr. Matt, that's not a name I have seen for a very long time. He was in Airborne Gaming back in the day, and that was like 2 years ago. I know that because I looked at my friends list, and I have everyone like labelled. Wow, I'll have to message him after this game, but yes, indeed. So we don't know many of these players. Reason Gaming Nardius is the guy we probably know most about, of course not in Reason Gaming at the moment. So let's take a look at some of these picks. Shyvana was left open, no surprise she's being picked up. Also Karma ban, which we didn't really touch on. It's something we've seen in the Korean scene a lot, not because of the laning phase, because she actually has a very weak laning phase, but her trading potential and the utility she gives her team in certain compositions, especially when people are liking to run melee bruisers like Shyvana or like Mundo as well. It's essentially a tool to get that front line into the battle, because they have very few ways of getting in themselves apart from essentially running at you. But you know, Shyvana has Dragon's Descent, but in the case of Mundo, he just has to move quickly towards you. And on the flip side, we've also got Fresh and Lucian. That's a lane that we haven't seen too much of at all, have we?
It's one of those kind of lanes that seen flavour of the month for a little while going back a month ago, and then kind of dropped off with Annie and Fiddlesticks taking over, with Tarek as well, it has to be said. Before that little nerf that he just received, he was also starting to get a lot more play as well at bot lane for support. So Thresh kind of fell slightly on the wayside in terms of the EUS Challenger scene that we've been watching, but it's good to see it back. It's a very scary combination, especially against the Jinx, because Jinx has no escapes unless that flash is available and off cooldown, but has no natural escapes, so to speak. So if you can land a death sentence onto Jinx, that's a lot of follow-up damage as well from Lucian. Certainly quite a scary situation. I would like to touch on Zilean though, because I don't think that's going to be a placeholder, and I would assume that's going to be Zilean mid.
Yeah, very possible. Zilean is not something we've seen since kind of like Season 2 era, when we saw like Zilean, kind of the Jax combination as well for the revive, and Jax becomes a monster. Something we haven't seen too much of. Is a very gimmicky composition, but it can definitely work in the right sort of compositions. We've seen a lot from Gambit Gaming in Season 2 as well, even like the early Season 3. Meanwhile, Nocturne and Riven picked up. Again, Riven is one of those picks we do sometimes see in the mid lane, and Nocturne is if we just don't really see too much at all in the jungle.
Yeah, he's a bit of a head scratching champion, because there's a lot of players who really love Nocturne and what he brings to the table. I mean, going back to Season 1, Season 2, he was actually a fairly common pick because of his huge range with the Paranoia ultimate. He can kind of gank out of the ward coverage. Not been seen so much recently, but it's definitely interesting to see how this synergizes with the rest of the team. I would have to say they're super heavy on AD though, so I would expect that last pick to be their AP mid, and I'd expect to see it being AP. Otherwise they're going to be lacking quite a lot of that AP damage, so it's going to be quite scary if they don't go for that.
Yeah, indeed. Sometimes you can run compositions like full AD, but have like a kind of side order of AP with the rest of the skills. So like some AD carries also do a bit of magic damage mixed in there, but that's not really what they're running right here. You can go like for a pure AD composition if your opponent is picking champions which cannot itemize armor efficiently. Like you can't just immediately go for a Zhonya's Hourglass because it pushes them behind. But if they can, then don't do that. That's a bad idea. They've picked up Mundo and also Orianna, And Mundo was also left open. They're allowing a lot of these top tier picks right now to be let through and given to their opposing team of the blue team. So I'm not sure how this is going to work out. It seems like every time we see Shyvana, Mundo on a team, they just win.
Yeah, that's a completely accurate statement. It is terrifyingly strong. And that also answers some questions. It won't be Zilean in mid, it will be Zilean support instead, with Orianna occupying mid. Well, I assume that's the case, Pulse. I mean, I've never seen an Orianna support. I would imagine it could be possible, but it makes a lot more sense to have Zilean there.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more supports nowadays, metas being actually pretty weak in the laning phase and just having more utility when you get into mid and late game, and that really fits the bill of Zilean right there. Zilean has a lot of damage in lane, he's pretty good at harassing, but he has a slow, he has no hard CC, level 6 is great, he's got the revive, but compare that to a lot of the other supports at the moment. Look at Annie, look at Fresh, they do a lot in laning phase, disengage, engage, lots of damage themselves. Zilean, yes, it helps you poke, but he's more looking towards the mid-game, late-game, and this is what we were talking about with Karma. The reason they banned that out is because maybe they've done a lot of scouting on this team. They know they like to run that Mundo Shyvana. What do they need to get into the fight? They need extra movement speed. They need some way of getting in there, and Zilean's going to do that for them.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. Plus, you know, with them not electing Sivir as their AD carry, with the recent touches up as well in terms of nerfs, that Thrill of the Hunt, the ultimate from Sivir is no longer on the hunt, I should say. Thrill of the Hunt, I think, is Rengar's ult, but that's going to give you movement speed. So getting Zilean in there is going to allow you to speed up the likes of Mundo, Shyvana, as you said. They can jump onto the backlines. They're going to be very difficult to deal with. However, they do have Morgana and Thresh, and that's a pretty scary combination to go up against, Pulse, because Soul Shackles the box, and suddenly you're all locked down, can't do a great deal. That being said, though, we're going to find out exactly what happens in this first game between Inferno eSports and Heavy Botlane after this short commercial breaks. We'll be rejoining the action in about 2 minutes. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
can't make it on my own steam, but it won't be long. Once in a while we're allowed to dream that we're gonna make it through the night. We're gonna journey to the light. We're gonna make it through the night. Whoa. We're gonna make it through the dark. We're gonna find out who we are. We're gonna make it through the dark. No one can tell us who we are. We're that only love can ignite. And I'm fine with this. I wouldn't have it any other way. 'Cause we were made for this. You and me, we're gonna fly away. That we're gonna make it through the night. We're gonna journey to the light. We're gonna make it through the night. Whoa, we're gonna make it through the dark, and we're gonna find out who we are. We're gonna make it through the dark. No one can tell us who we are. We're that only love can ignite. The sun will rise. The sun will rise. And the sun will rise. The sun will rise. We're gonna make it through the night. We're gonna journey to the light. We're gonna make it through the night. Whoa, we're gonna make it through the dark.
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to EUS Challenger Series number 16 with round of 16, Inferno eSports and Heavy Botlane in the best of 3 series. I am Pulse, and I am joined by Metas.
Hello, Pulse. It's
Hello.
been a little while. You know, we got a couple casts recently, but before that, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks before we casted together, so
Yeah.
it's always a lot of fun. Regardless, though, as you say, purple team of Heavy Botlane are coming into this bottom tri-bush, and they are looking for that early invade. In fact, they're going to be going straight up here, so Mundo and Jinx are going to have to be super careful here, because they could be finding themselves up against 5 players strong. Hiva coming in, the Infected Cleaver will be landing, and that will slow down Hiva enough for Mundo to be able to escape.
Yeah, and that'll just at least show them that everyone knows where that team of Heavy Botlane is, and they will just kind of back on off. They can choose to stick around because they haven't actually put down any early vision, but Heavy Botlane don't know that Inferno happened, so therefore they'll just have to get out of that jungle. However, well, they're just actually going to ward that up, yeah.
Yeah, just sticking down a couple wards to make sure that re-engage doesn't come about here from the purple team. And meanwhile, you can see Riven occupying top lane. So as we're expecting to see, it is going to be Riven up against Mundo at top, who has also elected himself a teleport. It still takes me a little while to get used to that, because it looks a bit like Ghostblade to me, that icon. I'm not sure if you'd agree, Pulse, but obviously in this new patch we had new summoner icons coming about as well.
Yeah, the summoner spell icons really confuse me, because like Barrier looks like Cleanse, and like Flash looks like Smite, and then at like a distance they all look the same. So it's like, well, you can't just instantly know what everyone's running, which is really annoying. I think people will start to get used to it, but it's that switch and the fact that they're so similar where they weren't before is kind of putting people off a bit.
Yeah, and also Barrier looks a bit like Smite to me as well.
Yeah,
so at first glance, I'm like, oh, he used his Smite as an AD carry? What? Oh, Barrier. Okay. But as you say, I'm pretty sure everyone will get used to that. Red Steel is coming about from Agua right now, and we'll be taking that one away from Tarlol. So actually, double buff Shyvana already ahead of the Nocturne. Lane switch-ups coming about. Duo lane going to top for Inferno eSports. Important to mention as well, Paul, something we didn't mention in the picks and bans. They are pretty much the top Italian team, so they're going to have a lot of Italian fans here watching this and seeing how they fare off.
Yeah, both of these teams are very good. They're kind of like, well, at least in the case of Heavy Botlane, they're a new team. This is Nardius' new team, and we'll see how they fare. Something we haven't actually touched on is there is a lane swap up with Riven and Mundo, and the team that's instigates that will be Inferno eSports, which makes a lot more sense, because generally when you have a Riven in your lane, that's not what you want to be swapping up into a 1 versus 2. It can farm under tower very well, but look at the case of Botlane. Get decent harassment to Mundo, but he's not too concerned. He'll just carry on farming. He's got means to farm at range, whereas Riven cannot. Especially when you have someone like Zillion. Bomb goes up, he just walks away, and that's harassment that you're not going to be able to stop.
Exactly, Riven is going in though, hyper-aggressive, bomb down as Tarlol comes around from the side on Nocturne. There's the speed up that we were talking about before though from Kiala, and that will be getting Bonnie out of dodge for now. And as you were saying before, it's not just the case that Mundo can farm from range pretty nicely with that Infected Cleaver, but Adrenaline Rush, his passive, gives him 0.3% of his maximum health back every second. So even if you do manage to get some harassment off balls, he's healing back super fast.
Yeah, he's basically way more sustained than Riven can ever be in that early game. And because her sustain is basically linked to her auto attacks, because she's picked up the Duran's Blade, which is very common for Riven, not only for purposes of farming, but also just to try and go for those all-in trades very early on, she can't really land those auto attacks because she's being zoned away from the minions. So the best she can really hope for is those last hits, therefore translating into less of that HP back. Talal looking for round 3. This is a lot of time committed into the top lane, and Riven does not even come out ahead.
And Riven even flashed for that engage as well, Paul. So across the board, that's a pretty scary position now for Kawachar to be in, because he's low on hit points, doesn't have his flash. Fair enough, he burnt the flash from Bonnie, but this is going to allow Zilean to just be a real pain in the backside. And this is forcing Nocturne to stay at the top lane. So this is alleviating the pressure at both mid and bottom.
Yeah, and as long as Shyvana can just leave the bottom lane, now that Mundo's pushed out the wave, he's probably good to go. He's not zoned away from XP range because nothing's actually dying at the moment, and then Shyvana can go into the top lane, provide some assistance, and with the knowledge that Riven's gone back, they could make a smart timing push here, go into the top lane 3 versus 1. Tower will not be able to trade against that, and as soon as Shyvana can get past that tower and zone away Riven when she tries to come back in again, that's essentially a free tower. Looks like that's what they're going to try and do, or maybe just look for the dive onto Nocturne. In fact, neither of those two options. I'm just going to take up the Golems.
Yeah, some more harassment on Vanez at the bot lane, but again, he's going to be okay. Shyvana coming to top, so this is suddenly turning into a 3 versus 2 if they go for this engage. Not too sure they'll be doing so, because Kawachards came back with that second Doran's Blade. They're going to be going in here. Shyvana coming around from the side. There's the Flame Chompers landing on both of the assailants, and now Tarlol could be falling. He's going to be forced to flash away. Bonnie has not got flash from that previous engagement, but here comes Shyvana from the backside. 5 seconds left on the burnout. Not going to be able to get into consideration to pick up this kill. Mundo will be going down at bot lane as we're speaking though, so just global action with the first blood actually going into the hands of Inferno eSports.
Yeah, and Agu just popped around the backside and saw Talon and just killed him. That's essentially how that went. And now they'll be pushing onto this tower. This is an even more awkward situation because yes, Mundo died, but there's nowhere for Riven to run.
It's not looking too good. That being said, though, it's doing a lot of damage to Aggro with that tower. Bomb explodes. Minions doing quite a bit as well, so it's going to be forced to back away. Bonnie does get that last rocket in the backside of Kawachar, who goes back in and picks up the kill onto Shyvana, who's a bit lackadaisical, I've got to say there. Pulse wasn't really trying best to get away.
Yeah, Agiwa just kind of stuck around and was hoping that she could cut vision and just combo Riven down as she went into the bush by using auto attack the Twin Fang as well. Or the Twin Bite, rather. However, Nocturne's just coming in for more, and there's nowhere that Kiale can run to.
Yeah, the flash has been used as well in that previous engagement. Flame Chompers comes down, fearing off Bonnie. Looks like they want to pick up the AD carry, now switching. In fact, they're not going to be switching their focus. And Bonnie will be okay as the ultimate comes down from Kawachar as well. It's not enough damage, so Shyvana should be able to get into contention here in the next few seconds. They should be okay. In fact, are they going to go for this tower dive? Nope, they see the dragon and will be backing on away.
These are some really messy engagements, Messes. Like, in that gank right there, Talon could literally have jumped on Zilean, gotten the fear onto Jinx, great, because she won't be able to use Flame Chompers to peel for Zilean, and then just kill him. Like, they have enough burst, literally, with Dustbringer auto-attack combo, for that to be enough. And, in fact, just carried on going for Bonnie, which was an interesting decision and just didn't work out. And then, because they ran away for so long, they didn't instantly pick up that kill, Agua just came back into lane after dying.
Yeah, it definitely was a bit of a head scratch. I was thinking, are they going to go on Zilean? And they just seemed completely content to isolate Bonnie out and try and get the kill. I mean, they backed away and got the recall in, but now Bonnie's going to be rejoining the lane with a BF sword, so they weren't able to capitalize on that momentary weakness. They are a kill ahead and 500 gold or thereabouts as Talol is going to try and pick up his red. Here comes Agua for that second consecutive potential red steal. Not going to be on the cards this time around. Does have the Dragon's Descent off cooldown, but can't be killing Talol, so will be backing on away.
Yeah, Mundo's trying his best to actually clear out these minions in the bottom lane. Not going to be the case right here. He's got the level 6, but he's forced into this trade he really doesn't want.
Well, he has popped his sadism, so he's got the movement speed and the health regen, but there's the flashed hook. It's not going to be landing. And there's the culling as well. Is it going to be enough damage? Yes, it is. Lucian picks that one up. So Nardius and Hiva are doing a great job at bot lane, has to be said. And they've actually had no jungle help. So this has been all on them.
Yeah, but as long as Inferno eSports can pick up the top turret, which they have, then they've got the Get Excited passive. Not sure if it's going to be quite enough to pick up Riven. Well, it might be. Got the level 6. Ultimate comes through, picks up the kill.
I did not think that Jinx had enough damage for that then. Especially with the shield that Riven had, but that is the power of getting an early BF sword. Here comes the cavalry though, beautiful combination. Dragon sent into Shockwave. Nardi is somehow managing to escape momentarily, but could be going down, flashing through the wall. Here comes the paranoia as well, as Orianna will claim that kill onto the Thresh. Nocturne did pop the ultimate at top just to get rid of some of that vision. Agua is still chasing down Nardius, who has such little HP. Will be dashing away again to the Sanctuary of Morgana and will be able to live. My goodness, what a great escape.
But while all that was happening, Bonnie was just pushing away in the top lane. I wouldn't be surprised if he just suicides onto the turret. That might actually be the right call here. Nocturne has been forced to recall to also deal with that. And because of that presence that was being exerted by Bonnie in the top lane, easy dragon pickup by Agua and the rest of his team.
This is going to be a dragon, as you say, very comfortable. No one is even close right now from heavy bot lane. And it's certainly not a case that they're living up to their name, because their bot lane, if anything, is doing all the work right now. Bonnie, however, is kind of returning the favour. Is going to be 1 versus 1 against Riven. Interesting enough, they are the same level. You normally expect Riven to be out ahead slightly here. Vanez is finding himself a bit of action. Death Sentence lands onto Dr. Matt. Does take a bit of damage with that binding as well, but they don't really have the follow-up damage right now, so they're going to have to back on away.
Yeah, so it's kind of been a back and forth thing. Mundo is slightly ahead in CS of Riven, which is going to help out, especially since he's died twice. Riven has had a really tough time doing anything, but that's just reflective in both of the CS from that top lane and indeed the duo lane, because there's been so much action. And Jinx's CS is slightly lower, but because she's been allowed to farm in the top lane, that slight edge that Lucian had in CS has kind of died down a little, but those 2 kills are going to help in that regard. So the game is incredibly even. There's a slight gold advantage coming into Inferno, but only really because of the dragon. When it comes to fights, when it comes to trades, I don't think there's going to be too much of an issue or any difference at all.
Especially if they can get that combo off that we saw previously from Dr. Matt and Agua, where you get the Dark Descent, Dragon's Descent I should say, into the Shockwave, and suddenly just 2 or 3 players get completely crushed. Riven is going 1-on-1 against Bonnie. It's a lot of burst damage. There's the barrier and the follow-up zap as well. Bonnie should be okay. Here comes the Super Mega Death Rocket, living up to its name. Bonnie picks up his 2nd kill.
Yeah, and that's why AD carries with an execute are stupid. Because having that global range on an execute is just, it's absurd. And especially when you get to the top level, players know how to lead people across the map. Istari gets locked down in the mid lane, but Dark Binding will land. Mundo heading in there.
Ah, beautiful Dark Passage though from Hiva. Should be getting back towards safety, and Istari will be fine. Here comes Talol as well from the side as Agua is pushing down, and Bonnie takes that 2nd tier tower at the top. So as you're saying, just constantly pushing and being a pain in the backside. Gets excited as well. Gets away. Talol's now 1 versus 1 against Agua. Will be getting that fear tether off, and will be just fine going back to his tower. Istari's taking a lot of damage in mid though from the bomb. This could be it actually. There we go. Orianna goes in to pick up the pieces. Now Hiva's going, well, 1-for-1 trade. And looks like that's going to be all she wrote.
Yeah, Nardius meanwhile is just pushing the bottom lane. This is a very odd game, and because of the way that the game is going, there's been so many people committed into the middle lane or skirmishes around the rest of the map. The AD carry doesn't need to go to the fight, or if they were to go to the fight, it would take too long to get there. Which is exactly what's happened constantly, bringing that to a 2-to-2 tower trade. However, as we progress later into the game, we've spoken about how good Inferno's lineup is in terms of what they have available to them. Shyvana, that Mundo, who are considered 2 of the top tier picks at the moment, and then with the extra mobility from Zilean, their team composition is highly synergizing and just increases their general map mobility. Versus, like, heavy bot lane's incredible team fighting potential, but that won't ever happen when you have a more controlling team of Inferno. They can choose when they engage.
Yeah, and they can also choose when they want to super engage with the likes of Orianna, Mundo, Shyvana. As you're saying, top tier picks right now. Going into the latter stages, they're just going to get stronger and stronger. Tankier and tankier. Shockwave has landed onto Istari, who already burnt that Dark shield, a black shield I should say. Dark Passage comes down from Hiva, narrowly missing out on that death sentence, and now it's a 3 versus 2, so they have to be super careful. One of the good parts though, the tower's pretty much on full hit points. It's going to be a while before this gets cracked down.
Yeah, and we're seeing the AD carry trade in the bottom lane, but Bonnie does not come out ahead in that trade by any means. Nadia's completely winning that outright. Bonnie did not have the summoner spells, and Nadia's did, but either way, like, the early game damage is really shining through for Lucian, which is one of the reasons why he's so good at the moment. He can trade off against basically any AD carry and come out ahead, even when behind. Nadia's aggressing onto Bonnie. He realizes where Ivor is.
Yeah, but that is going to be the revive ulti coming down, so they're going to wait until this is running out and then pick up the kill. Question is, can Bonnie get out of here? No, he cannot. Will be falling down. Here comes Vanes from the side, however. Is this going to be a 2-for-0 trade so far? Nadia is trying his best, jumps back in, gets the double kill. Now looking for his triple. Hiva flays Vanes back. He does have his ultimate not available right now. I was about to say it was, but it's not. Here comes Ekua from the side. There's the Dark Passage again coming to the good of his teammate Hiva, keeping his AD carry alive all day long. Meanwhile though, another engage kicks off as Nocturne's picked up Orianna, flashing through for Fear Tether onto Vanes, who will be falling down as well to Morgana, and now Aqua's in a horrific position, 3 versus 1. Dark Binding and Death Sentence pretty much miss right there. There's the Soul Shackles though from Morgana, and the flash from Aqua, who's eating so many abilities, so many summoners, finally goes down though.
That was 5 kills. That's basically an unofficial ace, as we have Bonnie and Kiala coming back into the bottom lane. It's been that long, and Hiva also takes another shot to the face. Also got Super Mega Death Rocket. Whitland flashes out of the way.
Ooh, that was so close, but still gets the summoner down, so that Super Mega Death Rocket will be back up and available before the flash of Hiva. Definitely worth it in that case. Suddenly, in the blink of an eye, this goes from being a fairly even matchup, Pulse, to quite one-sided in heavy bot lane's favour, because they've picked up a load of kills on the likes of Lucian, who's now sat on 4-for-0. He's recalling with 1.7k. In fact, he's going to be killing this ward first as Mundo falls down, and that's actually alarm bells beginning to ring. If Riven can solo Mundo, that's not a good position to be in, because Mundo is normally that heavy, soaking up sponge of damage that never dies in teamfights. If he's dying, Pauls, that's pretty sad times right now for Inferno.
Yeah, Mundo really just fulfills the same sort of role as a lot of top lanes at the moment, where you just go into the top lane, you farm literally all day, and if your team needs you, well, okay, I'll just carry on pushing, and then you can just 1 versus 1 anyone. It's kind of ridiculous, but when you have Riven who's ahead of him, even though she was in a horrible lane where she was behind on farm, behind on kills, and behind on the turret, and still beating Mundo, that's not a good position to be in. Dragon will also be falling probably again to Inferno, unless they can go for this engage.
Yeah, Culling has came off. There's the flame death sentence. That will be Kiala instantly dying. Will be using the ultimate on himself, but you've got 5 players to deal with, so he will be popped down instantly. Was the dragon picked up? Yes, it was from Shyvana, so that's a 1-for-0 trade, but with the dragon, still quite worth it for Inferno if they can keep a couple of objectives alive here.
Inferno are playing this really well when it comes to timings of buffs, but when it comes to their own positioning, heavy bot lane are catching them out every single turn, which is kind of curious. I mean, they do have Nocturne, their characters are fairly high mobility, most looking more towards that Riven, but with the high mobility composition of Inferno, they shouldn't technically be getting caught just like this.
Yeah, the paranoia has been used here. I think defensively more than anything else. Riven comes in, very nearly claims the kill onto Vanes, who's staying around for a long time. Super Mega Death Rocket comes in, just lands onto Nadius. That will be a kill over Zillion as the bomb explodes. Tower has been picked up, but the Death Sentence lands on Aqua. Certainly not the assailant they were looking for. Soul Shackles used from Istari will be stunning down Aqua. Here comes the fear afterwards, but there's the double kill from Jinx, who gets excited. Does he have the raw speed to pick up this next kill onto Hiva, who Death Sentence back in? That's going to be a triple kill, could turn into a quadra. Zap will be landing, will be spell shielded across though from Tarlol, but still the damage has been done. Yes, they got a tower, but that's 3 very important kills on Jinx. He's now on 5-1.
Yeah, Talol's kind of objective right here is just to keep the tower alive. The minions are nowhere near, and he's just going to try and take out Raiders. Wraith, which will in fact go to Agua, trading off against him, but Bonnie's around the corner. I'm not sure if he wants to be going for that one. It was essentially damage control after they picked up the turret for heavy bot lane, and as long as his middle turret doesn't die, they still come out ahead, because it was essentially a tower for the kill. But Bonnie picks it up and it's actually evened that one out. It isn't in a turret, so they can push even further. Top tower is looking really good for them, especially with Riven just pushing away. Now the Tiamat as well, making an even stronger split pushing presence, especially against Mundo that we've already seen she can out-trade him. And then with the Tiamat as well she was winning before, and now she can also push the wave. So they're going to have to commit someone who isn't Mundo, who is more valuable than Mundo, to go for the fight. Versus Riven, which is not exactly what they want, especially when they're just dying across the board anyway.
Well, it's pretty terror as well right now for heavy bot lane, because Jinx just recalled with 3,000 gold and instantly bought a Phantom Dancer. So Infinity Edge Phantom Dancer at 18.5 minutes, that's going to do so much damage, especially if Bonnie can position, like in that last fight, at the back lines, because that Get Excited will constantly keep him in contention to chase down kills. Riven's coming down, has been spotted by a ward, needs to be careful. Death Sentence goes in as well to Kiala. It's definitely not the adversary they were looking for, but Eva will be okay with the Talisman of Ascension.
The AD carriers are in exactly the same spot right now in terms of kills, in terms of how much gold they have. Lucian's a little bit further ahead. He's already picked up the Last Whisper and Bloodthirster, which is not a build we see all that often, but not going to help if he gets caught out as well. Everyone angling around this Dragon area, nothing really to fight over, but Shyvana goes for the engage.
Again, they catch the Death Sentence onto Shyvana, which is just good news for Inferno, who's now zoning out 2 players. Shockwave slams on 3. That was a beautiful ultimate, but Chabad just doing all the damage. Jinx, however, is still alive. Picks up 1, looking for the double kill. Will be getting this one. Somehow Tarlor manages to escape with that flash, but now Nardius is being chased down. Zap comes in, forces the flash away. AD carry of Nardius gets his triple kill as well, so it's all about the AD carries. The question is now, who has the slicker moves, as Hiva will be backing on away. Zap comes across, does land, but narrowly Hiva manages to escape for a few more seconds. Flame Chompers comes down. There's the Zap again. We'll be picking up the kill. Beautiful play from both AD carries.
Yeah, Nardius was actually life stealing off of those creeps. Bonnie is not going to see where he is, but he's going to make a decent guess of it.
Oh!
Oh,
teasing. He did manage to get away, but that Bonnie must have had his kind of butterflies in his stomach as soon as he saw Lucian there.
Yeah, indeed. Lucian is actually behind in terms of HP, and I'm sure Bonnie at that stage probably could have won already in that power stance. But either way, we will not see those AD carries going toe-to-toe just yet. 4k behind will be Inferno, but coming out ahead pretty significantly in that team fight, and that's kind of, I'm not necessarily curious, but both these teams do similar things in terms of mobility, but those bruises are really going to start to shine when it comes into those kind of smaller environments like the jungle, especially when we get later onto the game as well. So as soon as they get an answer to Riven, that's the only thing pushing them behind. As soon as Riven is being able to get countered by one of these players, specifically one of the bruisers, then their team fighting will be way better, and they'll have to move the Riven into the team fight, not necessarily where she wants to be, and then they should win by making these kind of brute force plays. But until that point, just by having Riven in the top lane is making it difficult for them to do very much else.
You know, in hindsight, the only thing, like, Bonnie's been having a really good game, so this is nitpicking, but chasing Nocturne, who then flashed through Dragon, bought heavy bot lane about 4 or 5 seconds. And Lucian was very, very low up until the culling, and then the Bloodthirster managed to get his health back. I can't help but feel here, Pulse, I'm not sure if you'd agree, but if Bonnie had just gone back into the team fight and focused Lucian instead, that could have came out a lot better for Inferno, without Lucian getting that triple kill. It's just food for thought there, just like hindsight looking back, and obviously these players have to make these decisions in the split second. He decided to go for Nocturne, who maybe didn't realise had Flash, but either way, interesting stuff.
There was a couple things he could have done in that situation, and the decision he made was to go for Nocturne, mainly because he's playing Jinx, and if you pick up 1 kill you get excited and you can go back into the team fight even faster than if you were just to walk back anyway. So with Dragon coming up in a couple seconds, we'll see if we see a repeat of that. But Bonnie's decision right there was to try and get the reset. It only needed 1 more auto attack if he got the crit, and he actually lands the hook on to Kiala. It looks like we might have this engaged. They're being cut off by Flame Chompers.
Yeah, Flame Chompers goes down. This is leaving them in a really precarious position. Hiva's way back, so he's not going to be able to use the box until right about now. Here comes Morgana, though. We'll be crushing down with Lucian. This is quickly going terrifying for the side of Inferno, as their Fed AD carry will be going down as well. Can they pick up a return kill? Yes, they can, but that's a 4-for-1 trade with Mundo way out of position there. Huge plays from heavy bot lane, and what looked like a great engage to start with really backfired.
Yeah, the front line of Mundo and Shyvana just got up in the face, up in the faces of heavy bot lane, which is exactly what they need to be doing. Because it forced at least 3 of those members to just essentially trade blows with them, just to try and get them off of their bruises. But with Zilean not being near to them, they were being more easily kited than the rest of the team, looking at Istari, looking at also Talol, who just jumped onto Bonnie, and it was nothing he could do about it. Kialis was there, but with the rest of the team being unable to peel that away, they took them down so quickly with the burst damage that the bruisers were just left in no man's land with the rest of the enemy team unable to do anything. So it was just essentially a split team fight, which should have worked, but everyone was like a couple inches out of position, which just meant that the AoE burst damage from heavy bot lane took them out instantly.
Yep, again Kiara has been caught from a death sentence, which seems like I'm repeating myself quite a bit there, but it seems the death sentence always landing on him when he face checks, regardless. Socialmedia picking up this creep while Kobchard's coming around from the side. They're going to meet head to head, but they don't really want to kick this one off, especially when you've got the rest of heavy bot lane starting to move on this position. So obviously things have changed quite a bit, Pulse, in this new patch. What's the next play, do you think, from heavy bot lane? Do they bait out a Baron and try and get a pick and then just end the game? Or do you think it's a case that they're going to have to just siege this one down?
At the moment, they're probably just looking for picks, because it's worked in the past and there's no reason why it can't work again, as Agua finds himself caught in the top lane. Not sure if he's going to entirely drop, he's quite tanky, but they've got to make sure that their picking team does not get taken out by the opposing team's response. And Zap comes through with Starry not in the best of positions.
He's taking a lot of chunk right now. Shockwave comes in, beautiful time. Zoni's Hourglass will keep him out of contention. Bonnie is now getting crushed from Kabachard, and the ultimate did come down from Kiala, but I actually think he ultimated himself instead of his AD carry, so that could have been a bit of a mistake right there. Will be getting picked off as soon as he respawns. Vanez is now again all that remains, and another 4-for-1 trade. Bit of deja vu here, and with a few of these players being pretty full on hit points, they may very well just go ahead and pick up the free Baron.
Yeah, as soon as Bonnie dropped in that team fight, that just swung massively into heavy bot lane's favour. It was essentially their team fight, and again, it was damage control from Inferno, something they've had to do basically for the entire game all the way through these team fights. Vanna's just trying desperately to try and do something, but that is teleport, that's not smite, though we might think it matters, and there's not anything that Mono can do. Baron will be picked up, putting them even in a more dominant situation. And it's just poor positioning, honestly, from Inferno. There's nothing else you can say about their team fight, because they have good champions, they've done very well in their respective lanes, but they're always caught out of position. There's always one of those key members, such as Bonnie, who's just taken out by like either a bruiser or literally anyone, and there's insufficient peel for him, because look at their team, they don't actually have peel. They have initiation, they have bruisers who can probably go 2 versus 3 and do it effectively, but in terms of peel, there's very little. There's just Zilean ultimate, which is great if you can get the timing on it, but if immediately the AD carry drops, the rest of the team loses because it's a 4 versus 5 for those couple seconds, and they just drop the AD carry again. That's not going to help compared to a fresh peel.
Yeah, I mean, it's all good and well having Zilean, but if you ultimate yourself instead of the AD carry like in that last fight, well, then it's pretty much useless. Now, that wasn't necessarily Zilean's fault. Yes, he made a mistake, but Bonnie was out of position and suddenly Riven was on his face, and Riven's going to do quite a lot of damage when she's on 7 and 4. I mean, that's just a given. Plus, I have to also give huge props to Istari for that beautiful Zoni's Hourglass, burning the shockwave from Orianna's Super Mega Death Rocket. Did that steal the red? Yes, it did from Bonnie. But that could signal right now to heavy bot lane, okay, that ultimate's down, do we go hyper aggressive now with the Baron? Because it looks like Nocturne's going to push top, so you're going to have this split push in effect. They could go for a 2-2-1 formation and just multiple kind of terror on top of Inferno. You're not going to know really where to go, because no one can really deal with Riven right now. No one can really deal with Lucian either, he's on 9-for-1.
Yeah, they have the right distribution of players and champions in each lane. They can probably just out-trade Inferno in every single lane. And in fact, they're just making a stronger push into the top lane with both 3 members. There's not all that much wave play available to them with just Mundo Zilean. Now the rest of the team has come in, but that tower is very, very low.
It is only a few more attacks away. However, the creep wave has been cleared from Orianna and Jinx, so they're going to be able to keep this alive for a little while longer. That creep wave is coming back down again. So now really just a question on how heavy bot lane want to play this one. Do they want to send Morgana bot lane or mid and try and split push and then pick up this free tower? They want to make use of this Baron. They are going to get this tower now. And the question now, do they keep pushing top or do they try and push a different lane? Looks like they are going to continue this push at top lane.
It's going to be a little harder now because they're hitting these kind of choke points within the base, so it's a little easier for Inferno to start protecting themselves against this, but Bonnie already dropped to 50% HP. If they force this team fight, not going to be in awful good shape. Riven, completely in no man's land though, will just walk on out. But it's going to become increasingly harder for them to go for the right engagement, and they'll have to go for a tower dive if they want it. There's no other objectives on the board to essentially lure Inferno out. There's no Baron, there's no Dragon for another 30 seconds. And Dragon, yes, it does scale into the late game, but in terms of stalling, that's not the objective you want to be walking up your base for.
Yeah, plus of course Baron is just going to get the constant health regen, so even if someone does take a bit of chunk damage, they're still going to be okay. Kiala's taking quite a bit there just from Thresh, and that's going to leave Coward Shard in the mid. So again, just in this position from Inferno where you're digging in deep, you're turtling in, and you're just hoping, you're praying that you don't get that Dark Binding landing on the perfect position as Orianna gets completely decimated from Riven. I didn't even have enough time to switch over there. Like in a blink of an eye, just got evaporated.
Yeah, I just saw the flashing up red, and Riven's looking for the second kill. He might be able to pick up a kill in response, but that was a huge commitment into the middle lane.
Yeah, that ultimate has been popped from Zilean. Here comes the bomb. Is it going to be enough damage? No, it's not, as here comes the defensive shield. Vanez could be falling. No, he gets the shutdown, but at the cost of his own life as Paranoia comes in. This is buying the rest of heavy bot lane enough time to pick up that top inhibitor. Beautiful play. Death Sentence goes a miss, but they could be backing off fast. In fact, Nardius is going in for the kill. This is really danger zone mentality now for Inferno, because you got Morgana. She's going to be locking down Agra, who will be falling as well, and that's probably going to be the GG. 20 seconds on Mundo, just Orianna to stave off this onslaught. Does have the shockwave, but it's not going to be enough damage.
Yeah, this looks like the game right here, and the first game will be going to heavy bot lane 1-0 in his best of 3 series, and I'm not really questioning the pick so much, but it was definitely a case of everyone getting kited and not being in the right position beforehand in these team fights metas. I'm not sure if that was because of the composition they were running. Generally, you'll have something to allow Mundo and Shyvana to get in the right position beforehand, such as a Karma, but you don't necessarily need that, and Zilean was essentially a luxury. But